What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Burnout Brighter podcast. My name is Matt. I'll be your host for this evening's events. This is episode 95. On this week's podcast, we're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff, but as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Darren.
Oh my god, I'm trying to say hello, but I'm about to burp at the same time. That was the.
You should have just burped.
So professional.
You should have just let it out.
I should have. Oh well.
We're going to run with it. And my wonderful co-host, Destiny.
Hey, I don't have to burp.
Oh,
I'm very proud of you. And on this week's podcast, we are very excited and very lucky to be joined by a fantastic content creator and a wonderful person. We have the DreamyGamer, Austin, joining us. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you guys for having me here, though. Like, I've been looking forward to it.
thanks so much for saying that.
So, usually I throw to the guests to tell them a little bit about themselves, but Destiny, you are actually friends with Austin, so why don't you set it up, and then we'll throw to them to kind of knock it down.
Oh my god. So me and Austin met like a long time ago. I don't know how long ago. We met.
It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
It was before my transition, so it's been like 5 years.
Yeah, it was before your transition. Yeah. But when we met, it was in the magical land of Second Life, I think.
Ooh.
And then we just started talking about modeling. I think we started talking about modeling, like modeling programs or something.
Oh, yeah,
and then you were like, oh, I game. And I was like, oh, like I like gaming too. And so then we started talking about gaming, and it's just kind of grown since then. I tried to start streaming because Austin would stream, and then I didn't know how to do anything. So like I was always pestering him. I was like, how do you set this up? He's like, God, Des, you're going to have to learn. And I'm like, no, just tell me.
just give me all your settings.
Just tell me all your settings and all that stuff. Look, it's because I looked up to you, okay? Anyway, so he's always been like super supportive and just a really sweet person. And when I thought about Pride Month and just bringing somebody on who can talk about like their experience and wanting to give them a voice, because that's what we like to do on our show, I immediately thought about you, and I was like, what the fuck? Why have I not asked Austin to come on to the show? So I messaged you, and you were like, yeah, I'm down. So yeah.
We're super
pretty excited that he's here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Austin. Where can people find you? What kind of games do you like to play? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, like I was streaming, like I streamed for like several years, and I recently stopped with the whole, Twitch fiasco that's going on right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are keeping up with all that. And I've switched over to YouTube. I'm still like DreamyGamer under everything. If you can find me, there's like 1 billion over there now. But, I mainly play survival games. That's kind of my bread and butter, Ark. I got Minecraft. Been playing Minecraft for years. Way too long. I feel very old.
I think that's the game we started playing together.
It is. It is. Because we would play for like hours. I'd be like, that was like, hey, Destiny, let's get into modded. And that was even better. But yeah, it's like mainly like survival games. I tried to do a playthrough of the new Resident Evil recently, but my computer couldn't handle that. So, it was so sad. I had like 2 hours of footage, then like half of it was just like still image.
Oh my god.
I completely understand. We tried to do a Valheim Let's Play, and
their
Darren and I
computers
like real bad. real bad.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely did one of those.
Yeah. And I watched a bit of them on your channel, and they were super fun. And I love how engaging you are, especially when you're doing different things. Like it's a lot of fun to listen to you. So everybody go check out the DreamyGamer over on YouTube.
Highly recommend the King of Crabs video. I love that game. I played it for like 5 minutes and then like got deep into it. I was like, I gotta make a video now. This is hilarious.
Perfect.
Such a good video.
So make sure you go check out the King of Crabs as well. I'll have all the links in the show notes, so you can go check out the DreamyGamer over there as well. So go show some love and support. And let's get into it then. So on this week's podcast, we're going to be talking all about Austin and his journey in the industry and everything else. And then we're going to end with Darren and I arguing about Blue Box because we weren't going to talk about it, but then Destiny got not mad, but she's like, you guys need to shut up and save this for the show. So we're going to talk about that too. But as always, we're going to be starting with a round of random questions. And if you're new to the show, I always like to ask, my co-hosts and our guests a random question that I have not prepared for whatsoever. But whenever we have a new guest on, I like to throw them under the bus and make them ask us questions in return. But as always, I'm going to start with asking Austin a question that I'm entirely not prepared for.
Matt.
Darren.
I know this is out of the ordinary, but can I ask Austin a question?
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God. Yes. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead. Oof. I was like,
can relax for a second.
Break?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to sit back and not think for a second. Go ahead, Darren.
Go ahead.
Now, as I want to start this by saying, now, as Matt also told you before the show and just said, the questions do not have to be quality questions. They can be dumb as hell. So I'm going to ask you a question that I'm really curious about, and it's going to be maybe a hard question to answer. Don't feel like you have to reciprocate this question with anything complicated in return. But I'm very curious, what attracts you to survival games? And do you ever feel like when you're playing a survival game, you have a hard time figuring out what you want to do next, like in the self-guided goal process?
Honestly, I don't know what it is about survival games. I think it's just the freedom to kind of do whatever I want in them. That whole sandbox mode, Minecraft goes on forever. You got Ark where it's just like, I could sit and build a castle on the side of that mountain, or I can go like tame a giga, and be all powerful. That's really what I like about them. But I do all the time, even though I'm like recording a series, like I will drop a series real quick. I probably notice that if you go through my stuff. Like if I feel like I've lost progression or inspiration in that world, I'm just like, all right, time to move on and find something more interesting to do.
Do you ever have a hard time?
Like, okay.
Oh, sorry to cut you off. Do you ever have a hard time coming up with goals, like to follow?
Yes, actually, yeah. Like it's really hard with like the modded stuff, definitely, because there's so many options when doing modded Minecraft. Like, was it all the mod 6 has like over 200 mods in it? It's just like, there you go. There's the mod pack. And it's like, oh, all right. What do I do? What do I want to do? Magic? Do I want to do like big machineries? Like it's really kind of hard now because these mod packs back in the day, Tekkit only had like maybe 60 mods, and now we have mod packs with like, if it's not minimum 100 mods, it's not worth playing. So it's like, wow, there's so many options.
They make the games better though. I always end up doing the same thing, building and gathering resources.
Yeah, because I just asked because I have a hard time getting into survival games myself. I think usually my arc for a survival game is like, I will build a house out of 4 walls and a bed, not even put it a ceiling, and be like, yay, I did it. And I'm bored and I leave. And I'm just like not a creative person, I guess. I don't have that creativity. I'm like, tell me what to do.
I think it really depends on the survival games too, because I'm always like Raft has been on my wish list forever, but I'm like, I'm gonna play it for like 20 minutes and be done with it. That's why I won't buy it. I'm like, I'm gonna play it for 20 minutes, so it's like, that's it. And then you got stuff like Ark, with the DLCs and everything, and they really like the new DLC. I'm so looking forward to it because it's the final. No pun intended, this final arc of the first game. We're looking at the second game coming out next year. And it's
with Vin Diesel, apparently.
Like in the new DLC. Yeah, Vin Diesel's a huge Ark fan, though. He has logged so many hours in that game, and I'm personally very happy to see that someone
He's a sexy nerd.
Wild card. Yeah. He is. He's in the D&D and everything.
One of his movies is a character that he created for D&D, and I can't remember what the movie is. I watched it. He's
Chronicles of Riddick.
Oh, no, that's not it.
Oh, I thought it was.
I don't know if that was one, but it's not that movie. It's like a standalone movie, and he hasn't done any other movies with it yet. But
Chronicles of Riddick.
No, shut up. No. He's like a witch. Like he's like born, and then like this witch has his heart, so he can't die, and he's like.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The Riddick Chronicles.
No. Man, I'm so glad you're not sitting beside me because you're making me want to get violent. No.
Well, thanks so much for your question. Thanks so much for your answer, Austin. Not your question. your answer.
We are now going to go into Austin's questions, though. So, Austin, it is now your turn to throw some questions back at us, asking Darren, Destiny, and myself each a different question. Who would you like to ask a question first, and what would you like to ask? Anything goes.
Really, like, I'm more curious about, like, all of y'all's, like, answers, like, what are the games you guys play? Like, what is it, like, you always find yourself going back to? You know, like, the style or genre.
Who wants to go
I
first?
feel like you already know my answer for that.
So you go first, Destiny. You go.
You go first. Honestly, last time we played, it was Minecraft, and it was like...
I still like Minecraft. I was talking to Katie, actually, and I was like, we should play Minecraft. They have bees now.
I can play Destiny with you if you want.
No. I already played with Matt, and he doesn't take it seriously. All right.
You make one giant rainbow bridge, and you never get
forgiven. It was so ugly. So ugly. Anyways, I wish we had photos of it, but we don't have them anymore. I just like survival type games, but lately I've been like looking at RPG Maker games and just a lot of different indie games. And because we've had to review games from like some companies, that's really helped me to branch out in the style of games that I play. So I haven't really gone back to any of the games that I use. Puppy! Oh, it's
sorry.
A little dog. No, it's okay.
It's adorable. Don't even worry about it.
He has an attitude tonight. He just can't decide where he wants to be.
Husky's always got those attitudes.
But yeah, I think right now I don't like horror games, like to play them myself, but I like watching other people play them and get scared. So recently that's what I've been like into. I've been into horror games, but not playing them, which is strange. But yeah.
That's okay. Do your thing. Darren, do you want to go next or do you want me to go next?
You go next because I was just talking for
Okay. Personally, I'm all about JRPGs. I have a really hard time getting into Western RPGs. I love a lot of JRPGs. Persona is like my favorite series of all time. Darren and Destiny like to laugh at me because if there is a school involved in the game, I'm there. Like if I get to go
a high
to
school
class
specifically
and like make friends.
Yeah, it has to be a high school and it has to be in Japan, and that's his game.
Doesn't have to be.
Yes, it is.
But
how many games have you played? Wait, how many games are there about American kids in high school?
It's I don't know.
No,
but they're not. But they might be in fictional worlds in high school, huh? Oh, what about that? So I love JRPGs. I love anything like with a big meaty story that I can kind of dive into. A lot of the Sony PlayStation stuff, like The Last of Us and stuff too. All about it. If I can kind of get lost in the game and lost in the world, I love that kind of game. I do dabble in some multiplayer, some Rocket League and some stuff with friends, but mostly it's kind of the big single player stuff. Darren, what about you?
Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
I personally I don't know why I'm putting on a voice.
Why are you
talking
either. Like that?
I am sleep deprived. Okay,
some like happy little trees,
like smooth jazz about to come on.
And exactly, like you're listening to the Midnight Drive, and on our next show, we're going to have Fufu Lashu singing.
Yo, Fufu Lashu is my shit.
I'm saying,
okay. My genre, my ultimate genre that I love to play the most is Metroidvania. Like, I've been playing a lot of Blasphemous. Unfortunately, for the past week, I haven't really had a chance to go back to play it because I'm back to school, so I've been busy. But Metroidvania games, so specifically, like, I call them closed open worlds, games where it's like a small world that branches off that you have to explore and gets, like, laid out gradually over time as you grow stronger. So your progression as a character is basically tied to your progression in the world. I think that there are far too many open world games. And I think the biggest problem with open world games is that the sense of player progression is it's hard to balance because you can go anywhere you want. So you could like basically put yourself into a corner where it's like, oh, I just found like the best weapon in the game. Like, oh, I just found this thing that like like the balance is all way out of whack. I'm killing enemies too fast, or like this is too hard. Like, so games like Dark Souls, games like Metroid, games like Resident Evil, even where you are slowly uncovering the story and the mystery and growing in tandem. Chef's kiss. Just beautiful pacing.
I
Love
was
it.
not expecting that. Sorry.
He put a little salt on it.
He did. He
a little bit on there.
jazzed me up at the end there. Good job.
He sure did. All he had to do was say the games he liked.
Yeah.
You know, he had to throw in, I think there's too many open world games.
And I want to say for the record that when I'm saying there's too many open world
comment.
games, I'm actually not including survival games in that. I think survival games work better as open worlds because that's the whole point is survival. Like that's using open world well. I have a bigger problem with games like The Witcher and Assassin's Creed and
what's the space one? What's the space one like that was hyped up and now
Starfield?
Mass Effect?
Oh, what is it?
Mass Effect?
No, I have it and I can't think of the
Chronicles of Riddick.
Oh, is it Star Citizen? Is it Star Citizen?
No, it's it was one that was like hyped up and like the planets randomly generate and
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky.
Yes. Like that is ridiculous.
Didn't
like,
you like
world.
that, Darren?
I liked it.
It's just,
Oh, no, my dad liked it.
I haven't went back to it. I haven't went back to it yet.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
too much for
It's like
you?
amazing.
Exactly, because I mean,
What?
when it came out,
Look, don't
it was
talk
like-
shit about Witcher, okay? Because that game was fucking amazing. Just because you can't handle different areas in the game.
Anyways,
It's amazing.
I'm
It
going
was
to put a
amazing.
hard stop to this argument because we're going to get into it and I'm going to have 45
Sorry.
minutes of us arguing about The Witcher.
Sorry.
Darren likes survival games and Metroidvania games. No, Darren likes Metroidvanias. I've got myself all worked up now. Let's move on to what's new. Are we
Good
talking
question,
about? Oh, no.
Austin.
Great
Good
question,
very good
Austin.
question. Thank you.
It's rare that a guest question gets us arguing, but that's when you know it's a good one. So thank you for your question. But the next thing that we're going to talk about is we're going to be talking about games that matter. So whenever we have a new guest on, we like to ask them about a game that's important to them or a game that they feel, got them through a tough time or something that they just think deserves recognition. So Austin, can I ask you, what is a game that matters to you?
Honestly, like I'd have to say like it would be Minecraft and Ark. Like those have been ones I've been playing since like the beginning. Like, I remember sitting in high school like on a school computer playing like a cracked version of Minecraft back in like 2011 2012.
Nice.
And I've just continued to play it for years. I've never really stepped away from it. And then Ark just because like I've met some really great people playing that game who I've been playing with now for a couple of years. It's been like really good. And going back to like Destiny, you said we met on Second Life. I honestly don't remember.
We did. I'll tell you.
I feel
the
like
thing is, you were like a fox or something.
Probably I was probably
like a really cool looking like fox. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was doing the shops and everything on there, and like I feel like Second Life is so underappreciated nowadays. Granted, like I don't know what it's like, but like like it's a great creative, again, open world type kind of social game. There really is no structure to it. You just kind of do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's kind of been lost in time a little bit.
So what about Minecraft and Ark kind of resonated so much with you? Like I know you mentioned that you kind of made some like genuine connections there and you've made friends that kind of stayed with you. Kind of what else about those games that do you find keeps like kind of bringing you back?
Honestly, I feel like when it comes to Minecraft, it's just like the modding community, because like those modders don't play. They will like one of my favorite mods I love when a mod pack has it is like Pam's Harvest Craft. I mean, like, and Pam's has been around for years. Like these modders don't walk away from their mods very often, and a lot of them do it for no pay. They're just doing for the fun of it because they like doing it, and they come out so amazingly detailed sometimes. Like it blows my mind to see what people can do in that game, and it's such a simple game most of the time.
So is it mostly the kind of the community aspects of both of those that kind of keep you coming back? Is that kind of one of the biggest draws for you?
Yeah, I think it really is just like the community of people that stick with the game, even if it flops or has like those years that it just kind of seems dead.
Mm-hmm.
We should play after this.
I found
Okay.
a new mod pack I've been playing.
Nice, that's awesome. Thank you so much for telling us about Minecraft and Ark, because I feel like those two are games that we don't usually hear a lot talked about, especially in that segment. But I'm happy that you kind of found a community there that you feel that you enjoy sticking with and kind of riding along with. That's awesome.
I think one of the things that was like sad about Minecraft is that like it wasn't at first, like a lot of kids weren't playing it at first, but then when Microsoft bought it, it got like this kind of like, I don't know the word I want to use, but like everybody considered it a kid's game all of a sudden. And I think that kind of like turned people off of it. But like it's for all ages. That's kind of like why I like it. It's literally for all ages. So yeah.
Yeah, granted, I was definitely in that camp. Like before Destiny, like the first time I'd ever played it was with you. And I always kind of saw it like, oh, it's just a kid's game. But then when I actually jumped into it, I was like, oh, there's a lot you can do here. And like, it's pretty
And we
incredible.
played vanilla.
Yeah.
So
we did. Like, no mods.
He's like, yeah, that's what we did.
I was trying to be like, I'm like, did we have mods? And then I realized I don't know how to do that. We didn't.
We didn't have any mods.
I'm a console guy, so like I kind of sit here without my mods and suffer sometimes. But I always like the idea of them, but they seem so difficult to get into. So maybe once this is over, I'll ask some advice. But let's keep this train rolling into what's new, where we talk about what we've been playing lately, what we've been watching, what's been keeping our attention lately. So Austin, I'll start with you. What's new?
Well, like I was saying, I just found a new Minecraft mod pack I've been kind of messing with, because 1.17 just came out, which is like huge update, and this is only half of it, because like we still have more of the caves and everything that are coming out. But I found one. I know you guys, you don't keep up with like back in the day it was just Forge for modding.
Yeah.
And lately there's this new one coming out. It's Fabric, and it's like a lighter modding like system. And I found this one mod pack. It's called Better Minecraft, and it's a Fabric mod pack. And it really just like, it's still vanilla, but there's like some touches of like modded stuff, like biomes of plenty. I was wandering around and came across like a goose. I was like, that's a goose. I'm like, wait, there's a goose in here. What is going on? Like it's just like, it's so great because it's like they've messed with vanilla a little bit, but it's so subtle you don't really realize you're playing modded. And it's I really enjoy it. I'll probably end up doing a series on it because like 1.17 is great. With all the like,
I'm excited to play. My
There's
favorite
so
mod
many
was the
blocks.
girlfriends in the boyfriend mod. You could just get an army of boyfriends and they would fight for you.
Yeah, like the citizen mods are so great. Oh goodness.
Oh, that's awesome. So
Yeah,
I'm glad you've been digging into that. So when you kind of go looking for new mods, what are usually some of the things that kind of grab you? Like what kind of drew you to that mod pack?
Well, what really drew me to it is just because like 1.17, I love Minecraft vanilla. Like I've played so many mods, I'm like, ooh, vanilla, yeah. But I wanted something subtle. I wanted a subtle mod pack. Like I have my own mod pack I put together, and it's still kind of crazy. And then this one, it's just really simple, like aquatic mods and like just something that's kind of making the world seem a little more beautiful and not just square. And I was just like, it was something new, and I was like, ew, I've never played a Fabric mod, so like let me try a Fabric mod pack. And it's honestly blowing my mind how well it runs compared to some of the Forge mod packs that we're all so used to over the years.
Right. Nice. That's awesome. So I'm glad you're enjoying that. Darren, let's go to you next. What's new with you?
Well, I already mentioned a little bit that I was playing Blasphemous. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get too much farther in the game, but I'm still liking it, still love it. I think what I really got into again, because I put it down for a while. I took a little bit of a break from Final Fantasy XIV, and I'm back into that. As of recording this episode, they just updated the game to increase the like currency cap, because there's like a weekly currency cap at endgame, so you don't collect too much currency. And they like basically made things. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to grind out the best weapon in the game. Okay, I'm trying to grind out the best weapon. The grind was horrible. I hated it. It required beating this one dungeon 15 times, and this dungeon takes like 40 minutes per run, so it's like hours, like Was that like 6 hours? It's more than that. It's like 8 hours.
Dedication.
So yeah,
patience.
Oh, it's rough. I hated it. So today,
was it worth it?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't worth it at all.
But you've already committed that much time. You got to see it through, right? Like, is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, so what they did today, the update, is they nerfed the step. So now you only have to run the dungeon 5 times rather than 15 times. So it's
You already ran it 15.
Wow,
I ran it 8 times. And
Okay.
But I still had to run it 3 more after they updated it because it's based on the currency that it drops. It doesn't count like how many times you beat it. It's like when you beat it, you get an item, and you need 15 of those items. So now it drops.
This is why I'm not
3 items
playing this game anymore.
But like,
oh, good. You can keep that.
Yeah, Austin, have you played any MMOs before? No. Have you gotten to the MMO scene at all?
Goodness.
Didn't you play Terra?
Desert. Yeah, we played the
shit out of Terra. We played the shit out of Terra.
we got to the point where it's like the story wasn't making sense anymore. We stopped playing.
So you understand the grind, how these games get you still. They just like dig into your brain and are like, they make you want to grind them for some reason.
But like, I don't get it. Like, because I don't like playing those games by myself. Like, I can't like grind by myself. I'm always like, if I'm playing, it's like with Jackie or like it was with Austin or like, and that's why I liked playing them. But if I had to like fucking go to the same dungeon like 8 times,
yeah.
Right. The last time I remember us doing that was for like a Halloween event.
Yeah, we did the Halloween event.
Yeah.
And then we didn't even get all the shit. Whatever.
Yeah. I think
salty.
For me, it's just like now that I'm this far into the experience, like I want like, but it's end game, right? Like the story's basically done. You're just waiting for more story to come out. So it's like, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. Well, why don't I get the coolest, shiniest weapon in the game? It's only going to take me 20 hours of gameplay.
That's how they get you.
Yeah.
But I'll finish this off by saying that Alistair messaged me this morning after I was sending out an update. Matt, I don't know if you checked our WhatsApp group that you've witnessed me releasing information about the update this morning. And Alistair made a joke how my speech has now become completely unintelligible because I just spit nothing but jargon for like 13 sentences. Like, oh, the tombstone cap's been raised from 450 to 900. And so now I only have to run Delibram like 5 times for the time worm step. And then also, unfortunately, they raised the weekly cap on Savage, but they haven't lowered the weekly cap on Paradigm's Breach, so I still need to get 1 coin a week.
I know what you mean. I get it. I understand.
So
I don't know what any of that means. So
I was like, it's like caps.
I'm deep into it.
He's deep into it.
Deep in there. You'll never get away from it.
No,
never.
It's his first one too.
Yeah, it is. But it's okay. I mean, he's enjoying it, and that's the most important thing. If he's having fun with it, it's his time. It's his choice. And I'm just worried about when I go back to that game because I really want to, but I'm also terrified.
You will not have to deal with this. I'll just say, I'm sorry, D, because I really want Matt to come back. Please save me from myself. If you're listening to me, Matt, I promise you won't have to deal with any of this.
Are you just going to give me all the things I need?
I can't give them to you. I actually can't. It's restricted from trading. But like, this has nothing to do with the story. So if you want to just come play the story, it's fine. Just skip the grind.
That's what I'm going to do. D, what about you? What's new?
I have not been playing Final Fantasy.
Never again.
I have it. I just I checked out this game called Lasagna Boy, which is
all right.
Okay.
This immediately sounds like a Destiny game. Go on.
It's supposed to be like this horror game. So there's like 2 versions of it. There's the first one and the second one. And I think the first one's kind of like based off of like the idea of like the Gorefield, which is like a demonic mutant version of Garfield. So like get it, like the Lasagna Boy, right? Because
I require lasagna, Sam. Deliver me lasagna.
The first game is very, very simple. right? So then when they did the second game, it was way more. It had way more story and stuff. It's a platformer. It's a horror platformer.
I regret Googling this so much. I have so much regret right now. I should have never gone down
John.
that.
John,
Wait.
Yeah.
It's
I should not have gone that far down Google Images.
You're making this seem like crazy. The game is not that bad. Like, you know, I don't like super creepy stuff, but it was kind of funny. Like, just the ideal of it. Because at first I was like, Lasagna Boy, what the fuck is that about?
Yeah.
Then I like checked that out, and because we just talked yesterday about what I'm into, I don't want to say his name. He does listen to the podcast, but we would just say the guy from the dating app. I got him into watching Kath and Kim, that Australian show that I told you guys about. He likes it, so I feel like you guys should watch it. He watches it without me.
Kath and Kim?
Yeah, or Kim and Kath. Kim and Kath, or Kath and Kim. It's like
you told us about this?
I did. I told you.
I have a big giant hole in my memory right now.
You just have to watch it with Senna because it's like stupid funny. Anyway, so we've been watching that.
I think my brother was watching this one time.
Are you? It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's really funny if I'm.
It is so funny.
I have absolutely no recollection of you telling us about this.
I definitely did.
Usually I'll have some like, oh, this name sounds familiar. I have zero. Nothing.
You ask me. No, you ask me every podcast, what have you been up to?
No, I know.
And I always tell you. Yeah, it was definitely, I definitely told you guys about that. Like, you should check it out. It's funny. It's funny as fuck.
Okay. All right. I'll look into it.
So Matt, no, Darren, God damn it.
Look at you guys go. Myself, I have continued playing Ratchet & Clank. I went on a long spiel about that game yesterday, so I won't get into it too much today, but that game just continues to be awesome. The latest planet I did was probably one of my favorite, thank you words, planets in Ratchet & Clank. It was just so much fun. The characters are still great. Still having a blast with it. I have also been playing more Dark Deity, and we'll have a review going up for that soon. But it's basically like a Fire Emblem tactics-like game, and it's pretty interesting. But we'll get into that in a little bit. And then I have also been messing around with Stadia. I signed up for that kind of month trial, so I've been playing some Ys, and I actually played a bunch of some SpongeBob. Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, because that was one of the games that I got. And like, yeah, that was something.
I love that game. That was like a staple of my childhood. Yeah,
I played the crap out of it as a kid, and I loaded it up, and I was just kind of like, I don't know how long I can do this. I don't know. I just my love for SpongeBob has faded over the years. But I'll be on, speaking of Stadia, with Aaron Cini talking about that. So by the time this goes up, that would have already happened. So go check that episode out. If you want to hear me talk more about Stadia, that will be there. And yesterday, but now that Darren's back, I just want to mention it briefly. Darren, I played the Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins demo. You will like that game. I did not. If you're curious about more, Darren, you should listen to yesterday's episode, or last week's episode at this point. But let's keep this train going. I don't know why.
I like how we're always on a train.
I don't know why.
Like a plane.
All right, let's
like
keep this blimp floating.
Yeah.
There we go. Destiny, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Ooh, I caught it. Okay. So that was so bad. Please cut that.
No. Hold on, wait. 34 minutes.
Oh my God. All right. So Austin, I kind of like introduced you and you talked about yourself, but basically we wanted to give you a space where you can talk about like your transitioning, how it's affected you, your experience with continuing to be a content creator, because you basically transitioned in front of all of your followers and listeners, right? Because you started before you had even transitioned. And let me just tell you something. When you were playing those voicemails, like Jackie was there and I was like, damn, his voice is so deep. Like, I was impressed. I was like, Austin sounded kind of cute. But anyways, please, the floor is yours. I'm not going to ask you any questions because I already know we kind of talked about what you want to talk about. So I'm just going to let you go and we're going to be listening. Okay.
I feel like I should be like in the beginning.
Yeah, start it.
Before the dawn of time.
Yeah, like, oh goodness. I mean, like, yeah, you're right. Like, whenever I started streaming, you know, like, I hadn't even come out to my family. You know, like, I haven't even, like, told them. I was like, hey, I want to be a dude. But, yeah, I remember those days. I remember being on Twitch back in those days and, like, still having the, like, the high-pitched voice. And, like, I kind of, like, always kind of looked masculine growing up. You know, I came out as a lesbian first and, you know, I did that spiel. And I remember sitting on Twitch and the trolling. Oh my god, the trolling, the 4chan raids. Like, I don't remember if you. Do you remember those, Destiny? Like, they would come in,
yes,
and they would be in there
fuckers.
for like hours, and it'd be like multiple times. You know, it was terrible. I would like leave the stream and be like, "Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this?" It's because I enjoy doing it, and you know, like, when it came to that, you know, there was a lot of that going on back in the day. I don't know if it still goes on. Like, I don't know, is 4chan still a thing? I don't know. But
I guess so.
Trolls will always be a thing.
Yeah.
You know?
They're always going to be there, you know. And, yeah, I remember, like, you know, the gaming and, like, meeting a lot of people really kind of, like, pushed me to finally be like, yeah, like, you know what, this is me. You know, I'm, like, tailing the millennials. Growing up, like, let's be honest, what trans person was in the spotlight back in the 90s or in the early 2000s other than Chaz Bono? You know, like, no, I grew up Southern Baptist down here in Florida. I didn't know what a trans person was until I was like 18. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know. You know, there was Jeffree Star. I mean, I don't know. Does he count? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if he counts.
Does anyone know?
I'm not sure.
I don't know his preferences.
We don't like him. Moving on.
Yeah. Moving on. But it was like, you know, and I remember doing the whole like coming out to my family, and that really didn't happen until like my 20s, like my early 20s.
Yeah,
I was
remember.
like working a job and everything, and the people at my job, it's like, I always say this, like, I hated working the food industry, but I'm glad I did, because like those people really kind of pushed me, because I went there, I was like, hey, you know, is it okay if I go by Austin, you know? And they're like, yeah. And then like I come to find out, you know, there was a bunch of lesbians in the kitchen. It was great. There was one I remember training me. Her name was Allison, and back then I was so shy. I didn't like to like talk to people. I had like social anxiety, and this girl was loud. She was like, all right, you're going to get on the front counter today, and you're gonna take orders and answer the phones. It was like my third day there. I was like, okay. I was like,
I don't want to do it. Any of those things, but okay. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like, and there was a assistant manager there, Erica, and she really she pushed me. She was like, you need to do this, you know, that's gonna make you happy, you know, it's gonna be hard with your family and everything. And it really was. I'm the youngest of 3, and my mother, she always wanted a little girl. And this is something I've seen a lot. People have come to me about like, oh, my friend's transitioning and their mother, blah, blah, blah. And my mother was one of those people. She's like, she always wanted a little girl. She had 2 sons already. And then I came along and it was like, oh my God, a girl. And, you know, we struggled with that. Like when I told her, I was like, look, you know, I'm still me. I'm obviously going to sound different. I'm going to look a little different, but like, I'm still the child you raised. I am still that person. I'm just going to be a little different. Mm-hmm. And over the years, I didn't really deal with much like backlash. I remember one day I was working in front counter. It was a Sunday, and Sundays were always like mayhem because it was like 11 o'clock hit, churches got out, they're all coming to that restaurant. Mm-hmm. And there were these little old ladies from my church. And I mean, I grew up in the same church my whole life. And I remember they showed up. It was just a bunch of them. And Miss Pat used to run a flower shop, and she always did all the flowers for the weddings and stuff at the church. And I remember her coming up to me, and she goes, honey, what do you want me to call you? I'm like, Miss Pat, you know, you can call me Austin. That's what I'm going by now. And she's like, all right. well, I just want to let you know that we love you. And like, she did this whole spiel. I'm like, Miss Pat, I'm going to cry. And I have like 50 customers behind you I got to deal with. But it's like, it meant so much to me to hear that from a church member, especially like an elder of the church. It was because like, that's something you worry about if you're a Christian and then like you come out as like gay, lesbian, whatever. Cause it's like, okay, well, this big part of my life might reject me, you know, because we're all taught that, you know, it's bad to be gay and stuff like that. And it actually meant a lot to me coming from her. But, you know, I didn't really deal with much, you know, through my transition. I had an incident recently. I told Destiny about this. I've talked to a lot of people about it. And I was like, they're like, you don't have to talk about it. I'm like, I really want to, because like, the perspective of it. But, you know, and this is a sad thing to admit, and I'm sure many people have felt this way, is when you come out of the closet or do anything, any sort of way, whatever you're living your life as someone from the LGBTQ plus, you have this feeling of like, kind of like, okay, I'm going to experience something really bad in my life. I'm going to like get assaulted. We hear it all the time of like gay men getting beat in the streets, or like here we had 3 trans Black women die in the matter of like a month or two, and our city said they were unrelated when they were all like a super minority, and it's like, it makes no sense.
That's terrible.
And so in my mind, I was always like, you know, something like this might happen to me one day, and I gotta be prepared for it. And back in, I would say it was August, I got in an altercation with my eldest brother, and I shoved him, and then he assaulted me, and, you know, repeatedly saying, oh, if you want to be such a man, then be a fucking man, you know, just beating the shit out of me. And I called the cops, and the cops showed up. We had 3 cops here. Out of the 3 cops that showed up, only one of them addressed me as sir. Only one of them would actually talk to me, and the rest talked to him. And at the end of the night, I was the one arrested. And I was sent to jail because I shoved him, even though I was sitting there. You know, I would like busted lip, bruises all over me, and he had not a single scratch on him. And so this is like peaked COVID, you know, August, peak COVID here in Florida, and I get taken down. I'm sitting in a squad car for like, I want to say I sat there for like 45 minutes before they finally like called my name, because they were doing tests before you went in, called my name, and the officer who brought me in was the one who was calling me sir, and I thanked him for that. I told him, I was like, thank you so much for respecting me enough to address me as my preferred pronouns and everything. And we get there, and the little like officer that was doing the test, she's like, this is blah blah blah, you know, and he was like, yep. And I saw it on her face. She did the whole like, you know, eye roll, fuck, I gotta deal with this now. And just the whole like processing and everything. I only came across like 2 officers in the jail that actually treated me with any kind of respect. I had the one that actually did my intake, who asked me, he was like, okay, do you want to go in with the men or the women? I was like, for the love of God, do not put me in with the men. I was like, I have had no surgeries done. I am not going in with the men. That is dumb. And so they put me in with the women, but I ended up sitting in holding for several hours. Like, I got in there at 8 o'clock. I didn't get put into a cell until about like 5 in the morning, you know, and the whole time I had crazy hypertension going. Like my anxiety was up, all the adrenaline from what happened. And like the women sitting in there, they kept telling the COs when they come in, like, hey, he needs to see somebody. He's not good. He's about to fall out. And they just didn't care. And I even asked several times, like, hey, the officer that brought me in brought my medication. I really need that medication. And they never gave it to me. I mean, the one thing they did do, they put me in my own cell the whole time, but it was honestly ridiculous, the way I was treated. And since then, I've reconnected with somebody, a friend of mine who's a police officer, And she even said, she's like, they didn't handle you properly. You know, there's a whole like guideline they're supposed to follow, and they didn't follow it. And the reason, like, she's actually an ex-officer, and she was like, yeah, like, I left the force for this, that, and the other. And part of it was just their viewpoint of how to handle people like me. And it's honestly, it's really disgusting to think that that is something that goes on with like law enforcement, you know, like who are we supposed to trust? You know, I now sit here and anytime I see a cop, I'm kind of like, you know, like, you can stay over there. But yeah, it's like, honestly, it's like the craziest thing that's ever happened, because it did cause like a huge rift in my family, because obviously this sibling of mine doesn't agree with my lifestyle. He has called me confused and all these other things, but the rest of my family is super supportive with my life. I have connected with family members that for the first 20 years of my life never had a conversation with me. My aunt, you know, we're really close now, and she has said that, she's like, I always thought you were just a shy kid, and now I realize your childhood, you were just like sad and you were confused and you didn't know what was going on in your head. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, you know, every day I would wake up as a teenager and I wanted to kill myself. I hated the way I looked. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I would go to school and I would, like, you know, I just felt awful because I never felt like I looked like the person that was meant to be. I've had this discussion with many people, you know, like in college now and everything. We were taking human growth and development. You get to a certain age group in there and you start talking about like when kids realize gender and like, oh, that's a boy, oh, that's a girl. And one of the guys in there is like, you know, trans people are only trans because they were sexually assaulted as a child. And I literally gave myself whiplash. I was like, sir. I was like, child, because I'm like 22. This guy's like, I don't know, maybe 18. I was like 22, 23. I was like, sir, I come from a Christian household, and I can tell you right now, that never happened to me. God. I was like, I remember talking in that class, and I was just like, guys, like, it's as simple as a child going to bed at night and wishing to wake up in the morning and be a boy or a girl. Because that was mine. That's how it started. I was just like, oh, you know, I hope I wake up in the morning and I'm a boy or be a boy. And, you know, it never happens because it's real life. You know, like you have to do it yourself. But yeah, I mean, like, the transition and everything's weird, especially growing up in the South, because no one understands it.
It's the South.
They're not very they're not very progressive.
It's the South.
South. I mean, if there's anything you guys want to ask me about it, I mean, I'm super open.
I'm just really proud of you. Like, I want to cry because I just didn't realize, like, I don't want this to come across the wrong way. You just made it seem a lot easier than it must have been. Do you know what I mean? Like, because you didn't really, like, you would talk to me about stuff, mostly relationships and games and stuff. But, like, and then I remember you were like, yeah, I'm going to start transitioning. And I was like, okay, cool, dope. And you were like, all right. Like,
do it.
Yeah. I was like, you should do it if that's what you want to do. But, And I also, like, understand that anxiety you get when you see the police, because just as a Black person, I get that anxiety too. Like, when thinking about coming back to the U.S., I was scared. I'm still kind of scared. Like, I won't drive, and I know I should, but I just can't. I'm like deathly afraid of getting pulled over and like saying something and them taking it the wrong way, and then the next thing you know, like, I'm the news say her name on the news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So. And Florida is really bad. Like, they had the shooting in the gay club. So I can understand, like, people are just fucking horrific. And I think the fact that, like, I can't change that I'm Black, right? But I think the fact that you have been so open about your transition and knowing that like your life could be threatened or like that people may say things to you is that shows how strong your character is, because I don't know if I could do it. I admire you so much for it. And like I've watched you transition. It's kind of like watching you grow up. I've watched you transition. And I remember the first time you put up a picture and you had like some facial hair and I was like, "Oh my God, he looks so good." I was so proud of you. So I don't know. I'm trying not to cry because I did my makeup for this.
Yeah, I really
What's like
Oh, sorry. 3 people talking at the same time.
Oh, yeah, it's like a Discord call. Oh God. The one thing like I've always kind of stated, and this is opinion I have about the gay community and the queer community, whatever we want to call it, like, because you just said you didn't want to offend me with whatever you said. And I've had discussions with professors, you know, like working on their thesis and all this crazy shit. They didn't understand my life. They didn't understand it. And I was like, look, as someone that's a part of the community, I need to not be offended by the simple questions. Like, you know, like, how does it work? Are you going to have this surgery? You know, like, I get it. That's kind of like overbearing and they're getting really deep. But as a community that's always been so shamed by everybody else, you know, we should not be turning around and shaming them for not understanding, which I'm seeing a lot now with like the younger generations coming up. They're just like, oh, shame on you straight people because you don't understand how my life works. And it's like, then explain it, like talk about it. You know, I would rather give people my experience, my information than them trying to do a Google search. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to get something credible by just Googling it. You're going to get an opinion that's probably wrong.
Yeah, so I think people...
No, Darren, you
go ahead, Matt. No, you go.
No, Darren, go. I have a question I want to ask. Darren, go.
2 times.
Go, Darren. Go.
Okay. I was going to say, yeah, no, I really appreciate you saying that. And I think, because the problem is people, like, people are still... I'm trying to find the word for it. The only word I can think of is, like, otherifying people in the LGBT community. And like in my training, when we're talking about people with disabilities as well, it's the same kind of thing where people are like too scared to ask questions, or they're too scared to, I think, or they're nervous about being around somebody from the LGBT community or something like that, because in their mind they're still thinking about them as someone different than them. But we're all just goddamn people. We're all human beings, and we all have differences. No 2 people are alike. And I think, and I really, really appreciate you coming on and telling your story, because I think a lot of people that are straight and heterosexual and cis, they don't have to go through these experiences. So they're like, they have no frame of reference to understand. So sometimes it takes someone telling a real story to make it feel real. So thank you so much.
Well, and like one thing I do want to say, like with my story, it's like, I feel like my story is such a good outcome because like I came out and I can still live at home, you know, like I am still here with my family accepted it, but I have friends who, they want to transition and they know the moment they mention it, they're out the door, you know, like they have nobody. And that's like one thing I kind of like want to remind everybody, like my story, like, yeah, I have parts of it that really suck, but I still have my family. I still have my friends and I have a support system, but there are so many people out there that like, they don't have that. And I wish I could give that to them somehow. And I think that's the whole reason of me being so open when it comes to my content. You know, if someone asks, I'll tell them. I don't mind.
Yeah.
And you're still so brave for telling this story. And I think the most frustrating thing is that it sucks that I have to say that you're brave, because in a perfect society, like you wouldn't be going through these experiences at all. Right. So I hope to some point we can get to the point where it's like, yeah, you don't hear these stories because people just accept the reality.
So something that I wanted to ask, because dealing with mental health issues, I've struggled with anxiety and depression for quite a long time, and I can only imagine the kind of mental toll that it would have taken on you, especially the lead up into coming out and into dealing everything that you've dealt with. What were some of your kind of coping strategies, and how did you kind of make sure to take care to your mental health to some respect, whether it was escapism, whether it was therapy, whether it was whatever else? What were kind of some of the ways that you kind of dealt with your mental health, especially through everything?
Well, so my anxiety and my depression and everything really stemmed from a lot of bullying when I was younger. Like in middle school, I went to a ghetto ass school, and I got bullied, and it was this was peak like MySpace time. Let's age ourselves a little bit.
Course.
And
MySpace.
that's this like it was beginning of cyberbullying really, and I remember I got to the point like I wasn't going to school because it was so bad, and my parents they sent me to therapy, and of course like as a teenager I'm not gonna talk to this person, but went through the whole like put on medication and did all this and that, and then finally going into high school I had a choice to go to the homeschool, like go to the next school that would be considered like default, this is where you go, and then like basically follow all my bullies to that same school, and I was like no. And I decided, I was like, all right, I'm going to apply for a magnet program. And I went to a great school. I did communications, so I did like a lot of art and stuff. So whenever I got accepted, my parents were like, oh, like we got to get you a laptop because like you're going to be doing Photoshop and all this, that, and the other. And that kind of really opened it up to me being able to basically do escapism and like game, and play video games. And like if I'm having a hard time, I'm going to get on Second Life and mess with Blender, make some awesome like sculpties and sell stuff and
sculpties.
Sculpties.
It's not even a thing anymore, but yeah.
It's all mesh now. It's all mesh stuff now. Oh god, my hours in Blender wasted. Oh god. But like that's how I really dealt with it, was just like gaming, Second Life, meeting people, and just like being social that way. And of course like changing schools helped me a lot because like I got away from all those people, and the people that did follow me to that school are people that I am actually still friends with today. Like my friend Sasha, we have known each other since 6th grade. We're still besties. We're there for each other no matter what. And honestly, I think the best thing that happened to me was transferring to a magnet school, to where people going to school wanted to be there, and they wanted that education. And we graduated in a small class of like 300 people, I think. And we're all pretty close. I mean, most people are still in contact with everybody. It's been like 8 years. And, it helps a lot when you can remove yourself from the situation, but I know not everyone has that option to do so.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that kind of taking that step away from that helped you deal with your issues, and especially something like getting away from those bullies. I can only imagine how much relief that would have brought going through everything. But so something that I kind of want to ask you, because you did mention gaming as kind of a method of escapism. I mean, you've talked a little bit about Minecraft and Ark. Like, how did you use gaming to escape? Was it simply as kind of like a distraction, or was it something that you kind of were there? You kind of mentioned some, the modding communities and stuff. Were you able to find communities of people that you kind of felt more accepted with, or like what about gaming kind of helped you with that space?
I think it was just the ability to like deep dive into something and just kind of like forget everything. Cause like when it came to Minecraft, like, yeah, the modding was like new, like, but I remember making friends through like the Tech-It, whenever that mod pack, I'm pretty sure it's still around, but like finding people to play Tech-It with and learning how to like host a server and just like start playing with like just complete random ass people on the internet and doing these crazy builds that like move and stuff, And I think it really was that. It was just being able to deep dive, escape, and just have somewhere to go and have fun without being judged for like the way I looked or the way like my life was.
I was gonna say that. I think like it helps when you can play a game and like nobody cares if you're a boy or a girl. They're just like, that's my friend and we're gonna do this. Like those kind of questions don't get brought up. And I also wanted to mention SL, you were a fucking fox wolf thing. So, you know, it wasn't a big deal. And I also think that like SL has a lot of communities, like it's very open sexually and just I don't know how to say this, but like you could do anything there.
Yeah.
But it has very open communities. Like you can find your group of people. You know what I mean? Yeah. So but yeah, like wow. It's been a long time. I was trying to think of how long we knew each other. So I was thinking like I remember when I met you, like this is probably fucked up. But I remember like later, like we were playing, right? And you're like, oh yeah, my name's Austin. But you told me about like your transition, but you were like very like closed off about like, cause I remember one time asking you and I was like, what was your name before? And like, you got upset, not at me, but just upset that I had asked. And like, I was like, oh, okay, sorry. But then you apologized later and you told me and you were like, but I really hate that name. Like, I hate it. And I was like, I understand. And then I felt bad for asking because I'm just like a curious cat. But I think you taught me a lot because you're the first person that I've ever met who's gone through anything like that. So, and it's not that like, I never judged you for it or whatever. I'm not a judgmental person in that way. Like, I just want people to be happy. But I just think like your experience has just taught me so much without me realizing it, you know, like just how accepting I am of people. And I hope you always felt accepted when you were around me. Cause I honestly do not care if you have a vagina, penis, boobs, whatever. I don't care. Like you're just Austin to me. And that's how you've always been. So, yeah.
So I'm gonna hop in here for a second. I kind of wanted to ask you because we talk a lot about representation on this show and you know, talking about LGBTQ plus representation in gaming. I feel like we're starting to see more of it, but it's not something that we see a lot of. So I kind of wanted to know your feelings on the subject. Like how much representation do you see of yourself in the industry and in games, and kind of like where do you want to see more of it go?
Well, like I know the biggest like topic of that would be like cyberpunk. Like we all know the whole like oh, there's gonna be trans representation, and then everyone was upset. It's like, oh, but your pronouns are still based on like the tone of your voice. I'm like I give these companies credit. They're trying, you know what I mean? Like they are trying, and I don't care how anyone looks at it. Like, oh, they're just doing it for money. Oh, they're just doing this. I'm like, they are attempting to make others feel accepted to it. And then we have games where you have a gay character, which is always kind of iffy because, like, I mean, I feel like Life is Strange. I'm trying to remember. It's been a very long time, but I want to say like Chloe was in the Rachel in one of those games, and they played on like almost the innocence of it. And I feel like when it comes to stuff like that, and you see it in like kids cartoons now, I started watching the Owl House, I think is what it's called, and you can see it, they're playing on like the innocence of like this girl likes that girl, and that's about it. You know, they're not trying to make it complicated.
Or Disney.
But when it comes to gaming, that is Disney. That's straight up Disney. That's a Disney show.
Every single movie in Disney now is like, we've got our first gay character, and they say it for every movie.
Oh my god!
And
they did that with.
It's like nothing.
Yeah,
like absolutely.
They did
nothing.
that with Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast. Yeah,
and I was like what? I'm sorry. I just have to like cut you off for a second. I cannot stand when they take a canon character and change it just to like be woke. Like I cannot, I hate that. Like people are like, oh my God, the Little Mermaid's going to be black. And I'm like, why?
Like, why are you going to do this?
It's unnecessary. Like just make a new movie, make a completely new, there's so many stories.
It's really for that shock factor to make people notice it. I mean, like, Oh my goodness, what's that? There's that one Cinderella that has Whoopi in it, and it's so fucking
Oh my
good.
god! It's a Cinderella
so
with
good.
Brandy, all right?
Yes,
and it was produced by Whitney Houston. It is the
And
worst.
it was fantastic. It was
Oh my
so
god!
good.
It's like one of the best Cinderellas ever.
They gotta watch it now. It's
Yeah, I can't believe you guys don't
literally
know
better
about
than
this.
any
Yeah.
Cinderella that's
It is
out
so
there.
good. It is bomb, and the cast is just like so
It's so
multicultural. It's just like
But the thing is, and for that, it wasn't like, ooh, she's black. It's just kind of like, yeah, Whitney Houston, did it.
yeah.
But it's like nowadays, it's like, okay, let's shock factor. Let's go. Like we can talk about like Lady and the Tramp. When they did Lady and the Tramp, it's like, okay, why did you have to do that though? Why did the
They're
wife have
trying
to
to
be black?
like
They're
the woke culture.
And when they do it,
Yeah,
it's
so
always
you
like the
don't
bottom
need
of the
to.
barrel, some side character you never see. That it's never a
Yeah,
main
it's not
character.
even an important character.
Yeah,
so
exactly. And it's like we see a
except
lot
in
of that. We
Fantastic
see-
Four, which that was horrible. Michael B. Jordan
No,
that didn't even make any sense. I'm sorry, I'm gonna hate
It's
on
like-
that forever.
I'm like, and here goes like, let's talk about Blizzard, my favorite company to talk about. Let's look at Overwatch. Like Tracer, yes, Tracer, I understand. It's there. It's Soldier 76 though. Out of all the characters, like Soldier 76, you couldn't give us lesbian Farah. I mean, like, come on. Like, we all want it. We all ship the pharmacy. Like, come on.
I literally feel like those are some of the easiest games they could include those things into, like without even having to like put a lot of crazy thought into it. Like just your new character, just make them just do it.
I'll give it to Blizzard. Like most of their characters only have about a paragraph of lore, but like why Soldier of all people like made no sense, And it's like it's just stuff like that where it's just like, yeah, we're gonna make that one gay now. It's like you don't need to do that. It's not like a requirement,
right?
But
it doesn't need to be forced.
Yeah, no, and then like it's nice when games make it subtle. Life is Strange made it subtle.
Yeah,
they made it very subtle that Chloe loved Rachel, and they had to make a whole nother game to even explain it. Let's be honest,
I didn't understand that. I didn't play it because I knew she died.
Yeah, I mean, it was really good that I watched all. I didn't play it. I watched all of it. But
what, you already know that if you play the first one.
I didn't play the first one yet. I didn't know
it doesn't matter,
Well,
like,
now I know.
This is not. I didn't spoil it.
Look, sorry to spoil a game that came out.
No, the game came out how long ago? Not my fault. You haven't played it.
All right.
Played it.
All right.
Oh goodness. But it's like we like I will say with Disney, like we were talking about, they use it for a shock factor, like Beauty and the Beast, like we're. But like with their newer stuff, because I'm watching a lot of their newer like animated stuff. And like the Owl House, it really is like super subtle. It's just like all of a sudden it's like, oh, this character is kind of like interested in her, and it kind of builds up a little bit. I mean, and we also saw it in DreamWorks when they did She-Ra. I don't know if any of you.
Yeah.
So good. And like it was kind of always there. And then people got all upset. They're like, "Oh, She-Ra's a lesbian." It's like, honey, what show were you watching? Because it was there.
I think people were upset about that because, again, She-Ra was a canon character for a long, long time before they made it into a show.
But the thing is, that show did change the story a little bit.
It did, but it's still She-Ra. It's still the She-Ra that people knew.
Everyone's gonna think like OG She-Ra when really she's like the third or fourth or fifth She-Ra in the line.
Exactly. So I think a lot of people didn't watch it and just got upset when they found out. But I'm really surprised, like, you didn't name like Steven Universe had a lot. It was very forward. Clarence was very forward, but subtle. Like one of the kids had like two dads.
Adventure Time
as well. Yeah.
Right. So I think Disney is trying to follow in this. Like they let like Adult Swim like test the waters, and they saw that there was a positive like kind of outcome, and now like a lot of people are doing it, and they should, because I know I'm older than you guys, but I remember when divorce was a huge thing. And so they put divorce in every movie. Like there were movies about kids dealing with their parents being separated. So I kind of feel like moving forward, that's what they're doing. And I love it because I think kids should know, and kids shouldn't feel weird about it. And that's where it starts. The education starts with the children. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then, as kind of like the last question to kind of wrap up the conversation, where do you want to see kind of, representation, and especially like in media across the board, but in games specifically, where do you want to see it go next? Where do you hope to see it go?
Like I definitely want to see it more.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you think video, like you sent me that stuff and I was like, oh shit, okay, I'm like, okay, LGBT video game representation. And I couldn't think of many. I was like,
yeah.
Okay, okay, it's, I feel like it's still very new to the gaming community for like LGBT plus to be in any game and be represented correctly for like the right reasons and not for the reasons of like, oh, dramatic backstory,
Mm-hmm.
we're slowly working our way there, but I definitely like want to see it more like nonchalantly in there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here's my friend and her 2 dads, or here's my friend and his 2 moms, and just like it not mean anything, just be like, oh yeah, that's their family.
I feel like it's going to take the gaming community a while to catch up, just because it's so toxic and it's so like male driven. I think you guys play. I didn't play the game, but the character Ellie turned out to be in some game.
Yeah.
Didn't she like have a crush on a girl or something?
Yeah, she's
and then people were super upset about that. So I think it's just going to take the gaming community. I think they're too worried about the dollar signs, especially for AAA companies. Indie games are like, ooh, Austin, it's not out yet, but there's this dating simulator coming out. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I can't think of it. It was in Black Voices in gaming. And
Validate.
It's basically like, Validate. And it's like all inclusive. I don't know. You should just try it. And then there was the other game, Daddies.
Dream
something.
Daddy?
Oh, yeah.
Dream Daddies.
Dream Daddies.
Right?
Yeah.
I remember that. Oh, Discord blew up about that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I
God.
definitely think indie games are willing to push the envelope and put more representation into it. But I think we have a little while to go when it comes to bigger companies.
Oh, yeah, just the gaming industry in general.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of representation, like, outside of video games. Like, we can talk about streamers and YouTubers and everyone else. It's like, you have your gay and lesbian and bisexual and pants and whatever else is out there on YouTube. But I feel like as, like, trans people, like, I can't even think of more than 2, maybe, and they don't have the best track record. I mean, I can't remember the deer chick on Twitch. Like, I don't even remember her name. But, like, I remember seeing that whole debacle and, like, everything that happened. I'm just like, and you're the face of trans people right now on Twitch, and it's sad.
Yeah.
Well, now you need to be the face of trans people. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
Well, like, I feel like when we think of, like, trans people, we think of trans women. Let's be honest. Like, anyone thinks of a trans person, they think of a trans woman. And it's like trans men are just kind of, I think it's because we more just like blend in a little bit better. We kind of like, go under the radar.
You can like do the whole like beard and stuff. Like, I think you brought up one time, like when you first started going to school or like one of your classes in college, like they didn't even know. Right. And you had to like, they didn't even know that you were transitioning. And I also wonder if like, cause you're very outspoken. Do you think like other, female to male transitions, do you think once they transition, they kind of hide behind that identity and are not as open because you can't really tell? Like once you start growing the facial hair, it's very hard for you to tell.
I think a little bit, yes. I think when it comes to like trans men, because so much happens when you transition. Like I could shave my beard off right now, my facial structure is not the same. Like my jaw's different. I do not look like the pictures I posted 5 years ago.
Right.
And it just like you said, it makes it so easy to just like transition it and try to like forget about your past and try to like lose all those people, lose all that history, and just move forward with no one ever knowing. And I've definitely heard stories of like some trans men make dumb choices because they get with a partner and they don't tell this person until like a couple months in. I'm like, honey, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. That girl has a mindset like some girls.
If she goes in thinking you're a man, she's going to be pretty fucking upset when she finds out. I mean, because you lie, you know? Like, there are expectations.
It's like, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and she recently had a trans friend do that. And I'm like, it's not the fact that, like, we're not real men or, you know, don't have a penis. It's the fact that you lied.
Yeah.
That is what's going to bug them the most, is that you lied to them and you didn't trust them. You know, my go-to joke to anybody when they're like, oh, you know, are you gonna have bottom surgery? I'm like, why would I give up the opportunity to buy mine in any size, shape, or color, and it detaches? You know, like, she gets bored one night, we're like, all right, honey, let's run to the store real quick, and you can pick out any one you want, just don't break the budget. You know, like, it's just like, it's why, you know, at a certain point, it's like, it doesn't matter, but for some people it really does. You gotta be honest about it. And so like, back to the whole thing, like, do trans men just kind of like disappear after their transition? I feel like they do, because it's easy for us to do that.
Right. That's what I was thinking, because I know, like, I just watched some video of this guy who's transitioning into a woman, and I think it's harder for some of them to hide, because even though they go through the complete transition, they still have masculine features. And they feel the need to speak about it, like to explain themselves, which is sad. They shouldn't have to explain themselves. But I do feel like trans women are the most vocal.
Well, also women are scrutinized so heavily in general because, you know, we live in a patriarchal society, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's also where some of that comes from.
Yeah, I think.
Well, it's like I was talking with a friend before this, and we were talking about trans women and trans men, and she's like, "Oh, I feel like trans men are very like sexualized and like fetishized." I'm like, yes and no. I'm like, it's still such a niche fetish. I'm like, compared to trans women have been fetishized for years. You know, like, you can go on any site and find anything about a trans woman, and I think that's also another thing, is you see them a lot because, like, they're their fetish, and they're so unique, and like, women in general are very sexualized. So now you're throwing in the mix a trans woman, and now people are gonna have questions. Like, why don't you look this way? Go get all these surgeries so you can look more like a woman. Now talk about those surgeries, you know, and that's the case. You know, they get thrown into the spotlight a little bit harder than trans men do.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you, Austin, because the fact that you were willing to come and talk to us, I think it's like,
that's my boy.
It's brave, and I respect you so much for it, and like, thank you for sharing your story with us, because I think that's so important for more people in the LGBTQ plus community to share their stories, especially trans stories, so that more people just accept. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming on to talk to us.
It was great. It was great being here.
We really appreciated it.
But you can come on anytime.
Anytime.
Yes.
Anytime.
You can teach us about mods next time, because I don't know shit.
We just have a whole podcast about Minecraft.
Yeah. But to close out the show, we are going to dip into a bit of conspiracy theory land.
Oh, God.
And Darren, I'm going to throw over to you to tell us a little bit about this massive Kojima Silent Hill Blue Box Studios conspiracy theory.
Okay.
And his room is blue, and it's blue outside, so I feel like this
Darren's
is perfect.
in a blue box.
I am the blue box.
Honestly, I thought it was just a conspiracy about his room when you.
Yeah.
Oh, see?
I was like,
hey, you and me both, Austin, apparently live in a blue box, so we're both part of the conspiracy here. But basically, quickly, there's a company called Blue Box, and they're making a game called Abandoned, and it's an indie game. People don't really know about them. It's like one of their first games, and
first game.
Well, actually, no, they have some mobile game they've released at one point.
Yeah,
but first big PS5 game, and because of various reasons, including name translations into Turkish, and tweets that Blue Box have released hinting at words that start with S and end with L, and Jeff Keighley's involvement, and just a whole bunch of garbage stuff. People think that Blue Box is actually a front for Hideo Kojima's company, and Abandoned is actually a secret Silent Hill project. And I think that is bollocks.
I think it sounds just like Silent Hill. Like, absolutely, without a doubt, I think it's true.
I'm also heavily buying into this. I really don't like. I'm really of the mind that this could go either way. It's gotten to the point where like on Twitter now, the Blue Box Studios Twitter, it's like blown up, and there's also like they have like an app coming as a kind of like a teaser for a game, which is pretty unheard of on the PlayStation landscape. And the only time we've ever really seen it to this extent was with PT, which was the last time we saw Kojima kind of dipping into this water. So there's a lot going on here. And like, so now the CEO of the company had to take to Twitter and be like, this is who I am. I am not related to Hideo Kojima. We are not working with Kojima. We are a small indie studio, but there's like...
They're lying.
Now there's a massive thing that's like, is he an actor being paid by Kojima to further the lies because they're not ready to show it yet? Or is it true? So there's this massive thing going online right now. And by the time this comes out, we may already have our answer. We may actually have definitive proof as to what it is and what it isn't. But it's gone to the point where Jason Schreier from Bloomberg has interviewed, I think his name is
Wait
Hassan.
a minute. Is your pen blue as well, Darren? Do you have a
oh
blue
my
pen?
God, Darren!
What the hell,
okay,
dude?
Sorry, I do have a blue pen, and
Darren
my mouse pad is blue,
Hideo Kojima.
and my laptop is blue.
Oh goodness!
And actually, my phone case is blue. So,
So I just want you guys to know, Darren has just been planted on our show to make you think that it's not real. But all of these, listen, all the blue in his room, the pen, the mouse pad, the phone.
And like, if you think about it, in his Devolver post show, there was a hand with a gun. Maybe that was Kojima kind of furthering the conspiracy.
I'm saying,
here. But
there's so many things that tie it together.
There's a lot going on online right now as to whether it's true or not. So Austin, I want to ask you, do you think that this is an indie studio which has gone just way too far, or do you think that this conspiracy theory and Kojima's involvement is true?
Oh god, part of me, I'm kind of with you, or it's like it could be 50-50. I want to be really hopeful because like, that demo was so good. That demo was good, and we were all heartbroken when it didn't come out. So I want to
look at Darren's face.
I mean, like, it could be possible. Mad. I mean, game companies do this all the time. Look at Wildcard. They made a whole sister company to come out with Atlas, and that flopped. You know, like, so we might happen. Might be it.
Darren's he's not believing it. Look at his face.
I want to believe.
Taking the bait.
No, I agree with Austin. Like, I think it would be great if it was real.
What, you agree?
Well, I agree that I think it would be great if it was real. If it was real.
I think this is beautiful. Right. This is a beautiful moment.
Why? Okay, so Darren, why do you think it's not real? Tell me quick. And genuinely speaking, why do you think?
Because there have been multiple tweets of Blue Box saying, we are not associated with Konami. We are an indie studio. We are not associated with Hideo Kojima. Silent Hill is a property that belongs to Konami. We are not making a Silent Hill game. So I think them outright denying it is probably a good indication that it's not true.
People lie all the time, Darren.
They do. They do.
I'm really curious to see how this pans out, because if you're right and they're not tied to it at all, they just got a shit ton of publicity.
Yeah, they did. That was probably like the smartest move ever.
They are on the map.
Brain move right there.
Yeah, they're on the map in a major way now. Regardless of what the truth is, I hope to find out more over the course of the next coming weeks, because I'm not going to play it. I'm not a horror game fan, but I just want to know. I'm so like ingrained into what's going on now. I just want to know. I just want to know the truth one way or the other.
I don't actually care. I just like fucking with Darren.
I know. I know.
Either way, we'll hopefully get a great horror game out of it, whether it's Silent Hill or not. We'll let you guys know once we find out the truth. We're going to be sending Darren to, I think it's like Switzerland, to figure the truth out. He's going to do on-site interviews.
All paid vacation.
By Destiny.
He'll be reporting live. I don't know why you said by Destiny.
But so keep it locked here for more information about Blue Box as we figure it out, because I'm dying to know. I'm so curious. But that, everyone, brings us to the...
Wait. Before we go, like I said earlier, So Austin, we want to dedicate this episode to your dad because I know he passed away in October and we just had Father's Day. And I know you were talking about how supportive your family has been. And I wanted to do that for you. So I hope just that little bit kind of like makes you feel a little warmth.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Honestly.
So to all the daddies out there, because we missed it, to all the daddies,
all those dream daddies,
my daddy too. He started listening to the podcast, guys.
Hey.
Oh my God. I'm
Matt,
so
bring up
much
chitlins
trouble.
again.
Probably.
Bring up
Oh my
chitlins
God,
again, Matt.
Austin. Matt was like bugging me about chitlins and he wouldn't stop. So I called my dad live on the podcast one time. You should find it. It was
have
hilarious.
never shut up so quickly before in my life. But Austin, one more time, where can people find more of you if they're looking for it? Where can people find you?
I guess you can find me on Twitter or YouTube or Twitch as DreamyGamer. You know, it's pretty out there. It's out there somewhere. You'll see me. It all matches. You'll know it's me. It's all the same picture, hopefully.
Perfect.
But yeah, I'm out there.
I'll make sure all the links are in the show notes as well. If you want to go find Austin, please go support. And very quickly, tell me again, which video did you want to plug? The one that you were proud of?
Oh yeah. The King of Crabs video. It's hilarious. You need to go watch it.
We'll
Perfect.
put all the links down below.
Yes, we will. Austin, once again, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you come back and talk to us again in the future. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks
really
for coming on. Let's play Minecraft later.
Yeah.
Now we're going to play Minecraft now.
Yeah.
And that, everyone, brings us to the end of the episode. We will be back next week with another one. Keep it locked. Make sure you head over to youtube.com/burnoutbrighter to find more of us there, our anchor.fm. We are getting closer to our 100th episode, and we are working on some stuff, but we'll tell you about that a little bit later. So make sure it's locked. Make sure that bell is clicked so it rings. Get ready because we have some cool stuff coming. We will see you guys next week. Peace out.
Bye.
Later.
Deuces.
Oh, also very quickly, Darren, yesterday I threw to Destiny waiting for her to ask me what I've been playing, and she just fucking stared at me for like 30 seconds.
Because